I never thought I'd be the guy who finds his wife with someone else. But not only did it happened in my own car. We'd been married for 8 years. Nothing crazy, nothing dramatic, just a normal life. Or at least, that's what I kept telling myself. Looking back now, the signs were there. I just didn't want to see them. It started small. She began going out more. Girls' nights, she said. Then it became late evenings at work. She'd come home distant, irritated, like everything I said annoyed her. If I asked simple questions, she'd snap. If I didn't ask anything, she'd accuse me of not caring. I remember one night specifically. She came home at almost 2 a.m. Her hair was messy, makeup slightly smudged, but she acted like everything was completely normal. I asked where she'd been. She rolled her eyes and said, "Do I need to report every second of my life to you now?" That was the moment something in my gut twisted. But I still tried to ignore it. I told myself I was overthinking. That marriage has phases. That stress changes people. Except it didn't stop. She started guarding her phone like it was some kind of classified document. Always face down. Always with her. Even in the bathroom. If I walked into the room suddenly, she'd flip the screen off instantly. Once, I caught a glimpse of a notification, just a name I didn't recognize and a heart emoji. When I asked about it, she laughed. Actually laughed. "It's just a coworker. Relax. You're being paranoid." That word stuck with me. Paranoid. So I stopped asking. But I started noticing more. She dressed differently. Not for me. For work. Tight outfits she never used to wear. Perfume she hadn't touched in years. And the worst part? She stopped looking at me the same way. Like I was just there. Background noise. Then came the first real crack. One weekend she said she had to go help a friend move. She left early, barely said goodbye. Something felt off, so I did something I never thought I would do. I checked our shared car app. We both used the same car occasionally, and it had location tracking. I opened it, telling myself I just wanted peace of mind. She wasn't anywhere near the address she gave me. She was parked on the other side of town. And she stayed there for hours. I remember just sitting there, staring at the screen, feeling my chest tighten. I tried to call her, no answer. Texted her, nothing. Hours later, she finally replied. "Busy. Talk later." That night, when she got home, I asked again where she'd been. Same answer. Same lie. No hesitation. That's when I knew. But knowing and proving are two different things. And I needed proof. So I waited. Days passed. Then weeks. I watched patterns. Times. Behavior. And then, one evening, everything lined up perfectly. She said she was going to the gym. But something in her tone, it felt rehearsed. I waited about 10 minutes after she left, grabbed my keys, and followed her. My hands were shaking the entire time. I kept my distance, trying not to be obvious. She drove across town again. Same direction as before. My heart was pounding so hard I could barely focus on the road. And then, she turned into a quiet parking lot. Not a gym. Not even close. She parked in a corner, away from the lights. I slowed down, parked further back, trying to see without being seen. At first, I thought maybe I was wrong. Maybe she was meeting a friend. But then another car pulled up. A younger guy stepped out. I remember that detail so clearly. He looked maybe mid-20s. Confident. Relaxed. Like he'd done this before. He walked straight to my car. My car. Opened the passenger door like he belonged there, and got in. I felt something inside me snap. I didn't think anymore. I just drove forward. Fast. Right up to them. I got out of the car, my legs barely holding me up, and walked toward them. The windows were fogged slightly. And when I yanked the door open, everything I feared was right there in front of me. For a second, everything went completely silent. I just stood there, staring at them like my brain refused to process what I was actually seeing. My wife, half-dressed in the passenger seat, and this guy, barely older than a kid, frozen like a deer in headlights. She was the first to react. "What the hell are you doing here?" she snapped, like I was the one who crossed the line. That tone, that same arrogant, aggressive tone she'd been using for months. But this time, it hit differently. This time, I wasn't confused. I wasn't doubting myself. I saw everything clearly. I looked at her, then at him, then back at her. In my car? I said, my voice low, shaking. You couldn't even find another place? You had to do it in my car? The guy tried to say something. Man, I didn't. Shut up. I cut him off instantly, not even looking at him. He did. She, on the other hand, didn't. You're acting insane right now, she said, quickly pulling her clothes together, trying to regain control of the situation. This is not what it looks like. I actually laughed. Not because it was funny, but because it was so ridiculous. It was the only reaction I had left. Not what it looks like, I repeated. You're half naked in my car with some guy I've never seen before. Please, explain what it looks like then. She rolled her eyes. God, you're so dramatic. We were just talking. That was the moment something inside me shifted from pain to anger. Talking? I stepped closer. With your clothes off? She didn't even hesitate. It got heated. So what? That doesn't mean anything happened. I looked at the guy again. He wouldn't even meet my eyes. Say something, I told him. He swallowed, clearly nervous. She told me you guys were basically separated. I felt like the ground disappeared under me. I turned back to her slowly. Separated? I repeated. She didn't deny it. Instead, she crossed her arms and sighed like she was tired of the conversation. Well, yeah? Emotionally, we are. You just refuse to accept it. 8 years. 8 years together, and she rewrote our entire marriage in one sentence. You're unbelievable, I said quietly. No, you just don't listen. She shot back immediately. I've been unhappy for a long time. Then you leave, I said. You don't do this. You don't lie. You don't bring someone else into my life like this. She laughed again. That same cold, dismissive laugh. Oh, please. Don't act like a victim. You've been distant too. I shook my head. This isn't about me being distant. This is about you cheating. Stop using that word. She snapped, her voice suddenly sharp. You're twisting everything to make me look like the bad guy. I stared at her, trying to recognize the person in front of me. But she felt like a stranger. The woman I married would have been crying, apologizing, breaking down. This version of her? She was defensive, angry, almost annoyed that she got caught. Get out of the car, I said to the guy. He didn't argue this time. He opened the door slowly and stepped out, avoiding eye contact, clearly uncomfortable now that the reality hit him. I stepped closer to him. How long? I asked. He hesitated. Answer me. A few months, he admitted quietly. Each word felt like a punch to the chest. I nodded slowly, trying to stay calm. Go, I told him. Just go. He didn't wait. He practically ran back to his car and drove off without looking back. And then it was just me and her. Silence for a few seconds. Heavy. Suffocating. You're overreacting, she said finally. Adjusting her clothes like this was just another inconvenience in her day. This doesn't have to be a big deal. That sentence broke whatever was left. A big deal? I repeated, my voice rising for the first time. I just caught my wife cheating on me in my own car with a guy half my age, and you think this isn't a big deal? You're embarrassing yourself, she said coldly. Lower your voice. That was it. That was the moment I realized there was nothing left to save. No remorse. No guilt. No respect. Just lies, excuses, and arrogance. I stepped back from the car and looked at her one last time. I'm done, I said. She scoffed. You always say that. No, I replied, calmer now. This time, I mean it. For the first time since I got there, she hesitated. Just for a second. You're being impulsive, she said, her tone softer now, trying a different approach. Let's just go home and talk about this like adults. I shook my head. There's nothing to talk about. I walked around, got into the driver's seat, and started the engine. She didn't move at first. Are you seriously leaving? She asked. I looked straight ahead. You can find your own way back. That hit her. You're unbelievable, she snapped. After everything I've done for you. I cut her off. Get out. Silence again. Then, with an angry huff, she slammed the door and stepped out of the car. I didn't look back. I just drove. And for the first time that night, the shock started to wear off. And the pain finally hit. I don't remember most of the drive home. Everything felt numb. My hands were on the wheel, my eyes on the road, but my mind, it was somewhere else entirely. Replaying everything. Every moment. Every lie. Every time she made me feel like I was crazy for questioning her. By the time I got home, the house felt different. Not empty, just wrong. Like I didn't belong there anymore. I walked inside, dropped my keys on the table, and just stood there for a minute. 8 years. 8 years of memories in those walls. And now all I could see were the cracks I ignored. I went straight to the bedroom. Her things were everywhere. Clothes, makeup, little details that used to feel familiar. Now they just made my chest tighten. I sat on the edge of the bed and finally let it hit me. Not anger. Not yet. Just this heavy, suffocating sadness. I kept asking myself the same question: when did it actually start? Was it months ago? A year? Were all those late nights real at some point? Or was everything a lie for longer than I even realized? My phone buzzed. Her. Of course. I stared at the screen for a few seconds before opening it. Can we just talk like normal people? I laughed under my breath. Normal. I didn't reply. Another message came in almost immediately. You're overreacting. This isn't as serious as you're making it. I felt something shift again. That sadness slowly twisting into something sharper. Still no apology. Still no accountability. Just minimizing everything like what I saw meant nothing. Then another message. If you leave over this, that's on you. I clenched my jaw. That's on you. Like I was the one throwing everything away. I finally typed back. Don't come home tonight. She replied almost instantly. Wow. So you're kicking me out now? I didn't answer. Because honestly, I didn't have anything left to say. The next few hours were a blur. I walked around the house, opening drawers, looking at things I used to care about. Photos. Gifts. Random little memories. And every single one of them felt fake now. There was this one picture from a trip we took a few years ago. We were both smiling, arms around each other, looking happy. I stared at it for a long time. And all I could think was any of that real? Or was I just the only one who believed it was? Around midnight, the anger finally hit. Hard. Not loud. Not explosive. Cold. Clear. I grabbed a box and started packing her things. At first, it felt surreal. Like I was watching myself do it. Folding clothes, putting them away, separating her life from mine piece by piece. But the more I did it, the easier it got. Not because it didn't hurt, but because it made sense. She had already checked out. I was just catching up. At some point, I found her old phone in a drawer. She must have forgotten about it. I hesitated for a second, then turned it on. No password. That alone told me everything. And what I found inside. It was worse than I expected. Messages. Photos. Videos. Not just with him. With multiple guys. Different names. Different conversations. Same pattern. Flirting. Lying. Planning meetups. Some of those messages dated back way further than I thought. Not months. Years. I felt sick. Actually sick. I sat there, staring at the screen, my hands shaking again. All those times she made me feel paranoid. All those arguments where she turned everything back on me. She knew. She knew exactly what she was doing. And she didn't care. That was the worst part. Not the cheating. Not even the lies. It was how easy it was for her. How normal it seemed. Like I was just an option she kept around. My phone buzzed again. Her. I'm coming home. We need to fix this. I looked at the message, then at the phone in my hand full of evidence. And for the first time since everything happened, I felt completely calm. Not confused. Not emotional. Just done. I typed back one sentence. Don't bother. She didn't reply right away this time. And honestly, I didn't care anymore if she did. Because whatever we had, it was already over. I just didn't know it until tonight. I barely slept that night. Not because I was overthinking, but because there was nothing left to think about. The truth was already in front of me. Clear. Ugly. Final. Around 6 a.m., I heard the front door. She came back. I didn't move from the kitchen. I was sitting there with a cup of coffee that had already gone cold, just staring at nothing. She walked in like she still lived there. Like nothing had changed. We need to talk, she said, dropping her bag and looking at me with that same annoyed expression. I didn't answer right away. I just reached over, grabbed the old phone I found, and slid it across the table toward her. Her face changed instantly. Just for a second, but I saw it. What is this? She asked, trying to sound calm. You tell me, I replied. She picked it up, scrolled once, twice, and then locked the screen. That's old, she said quickly. That doesn't mean anything now. I let out a quiet breath. Multiple guys, I said. For years. She rolled her eyes again, but this time it felt forced. You're digging into the past because you're hurt. You're trying to make it worse than it is. I actually smiled. Not because it was funny, but because it was so predictable. So nothing happened? I asked. She hesitated. That was all I needed. You're unbelievable, I said, shaking my head. You got caught, and you're still lying. I'm not lying, she snapped, her voice rising. You're just twisting everything like you always do. There it was again. Blame. Deflection. Zero responsibility. I stood up slowly. No, I said calmly. I'm just finally seeing everything clearly. She crossed her arms, clearly irritated that her usual tactics weren't working. So what, you're just going to throw away 8 years over this? She said. I looked at her for a long moment. You threw it away, I replied. Silence. For the first time since I met her, she had nothing to say. Not an excuse. Not a comeback. Nothing. I walked past her, went into the bedroom, and brought out the box I packed. Her things. I placed it by the door. You need to leave, I said. She stared at the box, then back at me. You're serious? Yes. You're making a mistake, she said, her tone shifting again, softer now, almost manipulative. We can fix this. People go through worse and stay together. I shook my head. Not like this. She stepped closer. It didn't mean anything, she said quietly. That line? That one sentence. It hit harder than everything else. All those times? I asked. All those people? None of it meant anything? She didn't answer. Because there was no good answer. I took a step back. That's exactly the problem, I said. She stood there for a few seconds, like she was trying to figure out if there was still a way to turn this around. But there wasn't. Not anymore. Finally, she grabbed the box. You'll regret this, she said coldly. I didn't respond. She walked to the door, opened it, and paused for a moment, like she expected me to stop her. I didn't. And then she left. Just like that. No dramatic ending. No closure. Just silence. I stood there for a while after the door closed, listening to nothing. And honestly, I expected to feel worse. But I didn't. It hurt, yeah. But it also felt lighter. Like something toxic had finally been cut out of my life. The next few weeks weren't easy. There were moments where the anger came back. Moments where I questioned everything. Even moments where I missed who I thought she was. But every time that happened, I remembered that night. The car. The lies. The complete lack of remorse. And it grounded me. I filed for divorce not long after. No arguments. No fighting over it. She didn't even try to stop it. I guess she already had her next option lined up. As for me, I'm still figuring things out. But one thing I know for sure? If something feels off, it usually is. Don't ignore it. Don't let someone convince you that your instincts are wrong just because it's easier to believe them. Because the truth doesn't hide forever. And when it comes out, make sure you choose yourself.